NASCAR 25 just came out on PC, and I would like to say thank you to the NASCAR 25 team for hooking me up with a code for the PC edition that we're going to be checking out today, and I'm going to be going over at the end of the video all of my Moza wheel settings that I used so far in my first couple of days of playing. So jumping into the PC side of things, and overall, graphically, it looks phenomenal. I am running on the absolute maximum graphics on everything. And to list a few specs of my PC, we've got a CPU Intel Core i9-13900K, a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 graphics card as well. I got 64 gigabytes of RAM if you were curious about the power of the PC that I'm using to play this game. So right off the bat, this was my very first time now playing on wheel, because on console, my specific rim, the FSR, the Formula 1 style rim, does not work with Xbox, and that was unfortunate, so I had to wait until the PC version came out. So I am on the Moza FSR wheelbase. I'm on the rim on the R12 base, and I'm also using a sequential Moza shifter, which you guys can, of course, check all that stuff out in the description down below. And of course, I'm in my Next Level Racing rig. If you're interested in a Next Level Racing cockpit, they currently have 5% off on their website for their products, and if you use my partnership code at the checkout, you can actually get another 5% discount using GOIN5 at checkout on the Next Level Racing website, so I'll link that down below in the description if you are interested there as well. As right off the bat, it looks fantastic. The game looks great. Now, of course, I'm coming from the Xbox Series X, and it doesn't look a whole lot different. You know, for me, visually, I didn't notice much of a difference at all jumping from the Series X to the PC, but the game already looked great on the Xbox Series X, so I wasn't necessarily expecting a big jump up. Night racing, the nighttime looks still really weird. I was hoping maybe the PC version they would maybe look a bit better, but yeah, it looks just the same kind of weirdness as, of course, the console version. But I mean, what you had on console is what you're getting here on PC. You know, the same experience that you can expect. There's not some disadvantage or real advantage that I'm noticing from one platform to another now. It looks great, it plays really well, it runs really smooth, and when I'm playing a NASCAR game on a new platform, for example, like we are checking it out on PC for the first time, I always have a list of tracks that I want to try out to see how the game handles it and how the wheel plays. One of those is Daytona, to get an idea of how smooth the wheel is, and then of course I want to do a short track of Bristol, I want to do a 1.5 miles, and I want to do a road course. We're going to tackle all of those here today, and like I said at the end of the video, every setting I have on my Moza, if you are a Moza user, I will have that at the end of the video, and also my in-game wheel settings, which could help more than Moza users, could help just about everybody hopefully as well. But we were continuing to work our way forward. What I was loving right off the bat was just how much easier it is for me to hold a line, because I've struggled a lot on controller, being a wheel player for many years. In the first month of this game, holding a line and hitting the wall when I'm trying to rip the wall at tracks is a big problem that I've been having. I'm still going to hit the wall, of course, on the wheel from time to time, but it's so much easier to just hold a steady line now as expected. And I will as well go into detail here about the wheel for me. I had heard previously from other wheel users that the wheel kind of felt a little bit weird, like down the straightaways they never could really feel any force feedback and whatnot. I can confirm, I can echo that. On my Moza as well, you know, you get in and into the corners, you really feel the force feedback come into the car, and I actually had my feedback too high in the first race that I was doing here in Daytona. But down the straightaways, you essentially go from a lot of feedback to pretty well zero. You basically don't feel anything down the straightaways. Of course, you know, I expect the feedback to lighten up down the straights, but not to a point of where I can't feel anything at all. It's just, it gets super light, it gets super weird. Like even when I start turning on the straightaway, if I want to switch lanes, like you don't feel any feedback kick in really. It's a little weird there, but outside of that little critique, it feels like I would expect, which is a good thing here as we come through to actually win our first race in Daytona. I would then jump into Bristol as Connor Zilish in Xfinity. here's where I would start to actually have to make some changes. Now, as you can see, the game, once again, like I said, it looks like, if you look at my content on the Xbox Series X, visually, you know, this is what you're going to get on that console, and it looks pretty well the same here on PC, which still, it looks solid, but I actually, my wheel goes over 2,000 degrees rotation if wanted, but in your Moza, of course, program or software, you can limit the rotation. So I originally, at Daytona, had limited the wheel degrees of rotation to 900, but here in Bristol, I would eventually turn it down to just 540, which is more of a GT car style preset for the wheel. And honestly, I mean, NASCAR Next Gen is pretty well a GT car at this point, so it kind of fits. But I was a bit taken aback by how difficult, or not difficult, but how much more wheel I had to use to turn the car in the corners on the wheel in this game. Like, I've had to turn the wheel a lot more in just normal corners on this game than any other racing game I think I've played, especially oval racing games. Like, you can see me, I'm 90 degrees left just about, just tugging on this wheel. Now, part of that was setup related, because I had gotten accustomed to running the neutral setup on controller, which feels a lot looser on controller than it does on the wheel. When I put in the neutral setup here on my wheel, it felt like I was running one of the tighter presets. So after Bristol, I would kind of learn that, okay, we can definitely get away with freeing up this car a bit more compared to when I'm on controller. It's a little bit more difficult to kind of hang on to a looser setup, but when you run a looser setup, at least for me, on my experience so far with the wheel, it was way better, and it really raced well as we would come through to finish Bristol, and it was a struggle. I was running on 101 AI, and you could see how much I was struggling, just because the car was so tight, and I was having to just yank on the wheel in the corners. So now we return to some next gen here from Kansas. It looks beautiful. It really does look fantastic. Like I said, it runs great. But at this point, I had now switched over to the 25% loose preset, and it made a very solid difference in just the overall, feel of not having to tug on the wheel as much. I think I could continue to loosen the setup more and still get away with it, because even on a 25% preset setup here on a wheel, it still felt a little bit tight at times. But yeah, I mean, overall, once again, no matter what track you go to, the feedback was kind of the same, where, yeah, it really is light. You can see me kind of moving the wheel back and forth a lot through the tri-oval. That's just because I got like no feeling there, so it's kind of hard to get a grasp for things. I don't know how to describe it, but when you can't really feel the thing, it's hard to kind of hold it steadier, as weird as that is. But in the corners, it kicks in, and it feels really good in the corners. But you're gonna now see me get up on the outside wall here, and I was having a good time until Ty Dillon decided he was gonna close up right to my door, and I actually catch the outside wall. Fair play right there. I kind of ran myself into the wall thinking he was going to keep coming up, and in reality he was still going to give me maybe a little bit of space to make that work. But I would then jump up to the outside here again, and you can see right there, I mean, just sawing on the wheel, and then once you kind of get to the middle of the corner, it kind of seems to get better. But yeah, it's definitely having to turn the wheel a lot more, like I said, than any other like oval game I've ever played, or any racing game in general. So that was something I had noticed, but I definitely noticed it got a little bit easier with the looser setups that I was running. So that's kind of my recommendation. If you're having that problem, definitely go into the setup and make it a little bit freer. Now, for example, I'm going to post a screenshot right here of me turning in NASCAR Heat 5 on a wheel. That's how little input I have to put in the wheel to get the car to just turn no problem, running a higher lane. Not much input at all compared to what you're seeing right here, where I'm just having to saw on the wheel to get it to turn. And iRacing, doesn't replicate, but it's the wheel input's very similar to what I just showed with Heat 5. I don't really have to put in a lot of input to actually get the car to turn, unlike here. So that's something I'm going to continue to kind of mess around with, because I think that's some settings that I can, of course, kind of fine-tune and get the car to kind of rotate a little bit better. So take that with a grain of salt. And if you already have some recommendations as well of your own, do let me know down below. But I am racing as well, I should mention, on the precision for the controls, like the precision setting. You have the normal, then you have the precision, then you have custom controls. But I am on precision, have a little bit more control over the car, over the little fine movements here. But I mean, outside of that critique, I was having a lot of fun, getting up on the outside wall and just tripping. I had to be really patient on entrance, just to wait for the car to kind of start to rotate, and then you just be a little bit patient on the throttle, then you hammer down midway through the corner and you just roll that top, as you can see. And I was having so much fun. I'd already been having fun, ripping the wall at these 1.5 miles even on a controller, and now that I can do it on a wheel, it's awesome. I love the idea of just being able to put it on the wall right there and just rip the boards and fly down the straightaway with the momentum. So that's something that I think I'm going to have a lot of fun doing here now that I can play on a wheel with the PC version, and I can't wait to get to the Cup Series of my career mode, because that's when we're going to be switching over from the console version to the PC version, as we're currently almost about halfway through the Xfinity Series in the career mode. So we're not far away from making the switch over, as we would now have one test remaining, and that's a road course. And this is a performance-heavy road course. This Chicago street course, you got the, of course, entire city surrounding this racetrack here. There's a lot going on, and that was another thing I was curious about. How is the game going to perform at Chicago? In my instance here, with, of course, I already gave guys my PC specs, and running the game on maximum settings, it ran flawless. I was very happy to report that the game had no issues. Of course, the PC version of the game was delayed by basically a month from the console editions, and there was originally no plans for them to actually make the game on PC, which was quite surprising to hear, considering how how much more popular the PC kind of side of things for racing games is getting. But unfortunately, they changed their minds and they made a PC version, and I had some concerns after the game got delayed for a month to, of course, get this version out on the PC. But I am really happy with the experience I've been having so far. Visually, it runs great as well. It's been a very smooth experience here. It matches the quality that I had on the console version, and that was really the main thing I was looking for. I wasn't expecting, some big jump up. I said, just make sure we can match the quality of the consoles, because they did a really good job executing over there on the Xbox side of things and the PlayStation side of things as well, and they definitely did it here with the PC version. And I was having a lot of fun having the opportunity to now race around a really tricky street course here at Chicago on the steering wheel. And honestly, from my experience of the 4 races I did, the road courses so far are by far the most fun to do on the wheel. I feel like the car, you have to drive it a lot more, of course, because there's more turns. But not only that, the car kind of slips and slides around a little bit more. And of course, under braking, you can lock up those brake slide, those front tires, and you have to try and manage that and get the car to stop slipping on the front so you can get it wound up and still make the apex, those kinds of things. The road courses are a lot of fun to drive on the wheel, and I think that was honestly for me the biggest step up from just playing on a controller to a wheel was the road courses, and just how much more enjoyable the experience is once you hop onto a steering wheel. So yeah, having a lot of fun there as we would continue on here in the final moments of kind of testing things out here. Now as we got a run on Justin Haley trying to make things happen, and I mean, you can see getting a good run as we go through the left-hander here, and I mean, just admiring kind of this atmosphere around this racetrack here, as we're still planted right behind this 7 car now as we come through the penultimate corner. Once again, I was running on the neutral setup, and of course, this time I felt a lot freer than the oval, looser setups that I had been running there, like Kansas. But we actually go around the outside of Haley, catch the outside wall, unfortunately, so we'll get in line behind him here as we would now start the final lap of this race here into turn number 1. And you can see Austin Dillon just behind us. He's got nothing for us now as we're on the back of the 7. We're going to dive up the inside here into turn number 2, and we'll clear him. And that might be as far as we get. We might have a chance to go after Zane Smith to kind of wrap things up here now, as well as we head down into the heavy braking zone. Going down to first gear a lot here. I was actually on controller. I often stay in second gear around this track, but on the wheel, I just have a little bit more control over the throttle, of course, with my foot, and then just the wheel in general, having a bit more control over everything. I felt a lot more confident being able to jump down into the first gear for a lot of these corners compared to when I am on controller. As we exit the penultimate corner there, and had a bit of a moment of oversteer now as we come through the final turn, and yeah, overall, pretty satisfied with my experience here with my first day on PC for NASCAR 25. They did a really good job with this, and now I'm going to show you guys the settings that I was using for this episode here. Now, as you can see, I did eventually go to 540 degrees of rotation. You just have to turn the wheel a lot less, and I think that helps a lot in this game. I'm going to continue to experiment with this, however, and kind of give you guys an idea of what I am doing. On my steering range, I have got that set to 70, force feedback maximum all the way to 100. Same for the force feedback leveling. Overdrive I've got to 0, impact boost at 75, and then of course you see the shifter type there of sequential. Now, the actual Moza specific settings in the Moza Racing Hub, or pit house I should say, you can see here the 540 degrees, and for the force feedback, I had that on 40%, but keep in mind I'm on a R12 base. That number is going to differ based off the base that you have. As you can see, more of the basic settings here. And what I did is actually I took pretty well just mainly it's the default settings here from the Moza Pit House, and I just kind of adapted a few things here and there, mainly just kind of the force feedback levels. This is also outside of the degrees of rotation, also the same settings that I run with my Moza on iRacing, for example, as well. As you can see the advanced settings. If I'm going through these too quick, you can pause, of course, and maybe put those settings into your pit house if these are at all useful to you. If not, I apologize for wasting your time, but a couple more here. The force feedback effect equalizer, pretty well stable all the way through, right until the very end. We take a little bit of a dip there, and then of course the final screen here with the force feedback base curve, or base force feedback curve. It's just, yeah, that's just default. It's what the game or what the software kind of gives you with from the start. So I didn't touch any of that kind of stuff simply because I really don't have interest, and the game feels fine. Every game I've played has felt fine with the way it is, so I don't really mess around with that kind of stuff. So nonetheless, that's gonna do it for me. I hope I could help you guys out today, and if you pick it up on PC, let me know. We're gonna be running some multiplayer lobbies on PC on some live streams, so stay tuned on that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.